I got some vibe from the quotes in this promo that it is going to be like Loki as a TVA agent. Season 1 was definitely him kind of
trying to
running
destroy
from the
TVA,
destroy it, kind of butting heads. But I like the idea now of like, no, like he's joining forces with these people, right? It has a very different energy than the first season. That was cool. Yeah, and the producer went on to say this is about Loki finding what heroism looks like, and that he's found a new family, kind of referencing the Mobius and Renslayer and all these other
Look at the growth. We love to do
Welcome back to the Breakroom, everybody. A new Loki featurette and some interesting Star Wars news from the last week. We've got to talk about it. In addition to some DC news, some very interesting Marvel special presentation. It's very interesting to me. I hope you, the audience, will enjoy it. I am Zach Huddleston, joined here by Brandon Barrick.
Oh, hello.
And we're thrilled to have Eric Owusu back on the show.
Yeah. Hey, Internet. I missed y'all.
The internet missed you, I'm almost certain. And of course, you know, all the things we're talking about, we think falls under the WGA and SAG approved guidelines for content creators. We are supporting the strike, and we hope it gets over, like tomorrow. Come to the table, AMTP.
AMPTP.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, Bill Maher wants to work.
And no one will stop him. Not even good sense.
I want a
ethics.
tearful apology from Bill Maher. I want him crying at his kitchen table.
I think the odds of me giving you a tearful apology are much stronger than Bill Maher ever. Okay, let's get into some headlines. So, some not breaking news about Venom 3, but silly
really
news.
sold it well.
But silly news, okay? Shout out to our writer, Eric Francisco, who first alerted us to this. Sony Pictures Home Entertainment UK. Okay, that's a lot, right? Like, all these big studios have their own home entertainment divisions that just deal with the Blu-rays and the digital releases. And they also have divisions in different countries. So their UK Home Entertainment Office TikTok account, uploaded a video, then quickly deleted it. That has people thinking we're getting a Venom multiverse story. Let's go right to let's watch the TikTok.
Yeah, I know all about you. I'll be right with you. What the hell? What are you doing?
You come in here again, and we will find you, and then we will eat your face right off your head. Do you understand?
Okay.
I'm excited.
Stunned silence.
So that is, of course, Topher Grace from Spider-Man 3 and Tom Hardy from the recent Venom movies. The two people that have portrayed Venom in live action.
They're both Eddie Brock.
Yep.
Both Eddie Brock. So this is kind of like a fan edit of existing footage. But what makes it feel kind of special is that it's put out by the studio that made those movies.
Right.
Which is strange.
And then they take it down.
And then they immediately delete it. Now, I think there's a couple scenarios come to mind for me, but what do you think is the likely scenario behind the creation and deletion of this?
Well, it could be, I think it could be a thing where they hired someone to run their social media. That person may be a fan of Marvel already, and this might have been something they make on their own and didn't realize they were on their work account and posted it. And then they were like, oh, whoopsie. Whoopsie doops.
Also, you're being generous when you say hired. Most likely they had an unpaid intern running
sure.
their
Could be an
social
unpaid
media
intern.
account.
Yep.
Yeah. Eric, do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think Sony is trying to stir a pot and trying to get a story going, but this is a terrible attempt at it. I think it was a fun little fan edit,
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily point to a new Venom movie in the dialogue used or whatever, but just the fact that, like you said, Sony's entity put it out makes people go, are we getting a new thing? Is a new thing coming? Is a new thing on the way?
Well, we know we're getting a Venom 3.
Yes.
We know Tom Hardy is writing most of it, probably, and will heavily have influence over whoever directs it or all that stuff. Yeah. Kelly Marcel. But I mean, he'll get first approval rights of the whole
Yeah.
thing. He famously,
He's doing-
famously or infamously, like on the first Venom, he was like, no, I don't like this, and was rewriting things and stuff like that.
He's doing the VFX for this one. He's doing costume design.
He'll
He's set
snap. He doesn't
decorating.
care.
He's doing the stunts. He'll fight you if you disagree with him.
Yeah, he will fight
In
you.
the octagon.
But you know, they were setting up in the last Venom movie. We've had 2 Venom movies where the good guy is Venom, the bad guy is a Venom.
Yeah.
And they've set up like yet another Venom, right? Toxin, to be like the next one. But if they're gonna do this weird, we know that Sony makes all these weird calls about the multiverse on their own. Like, it seems like the post-credit scene for Venom 2. Let There Be Carnage, or whatever I like to call it.
No, that's what it's
No, it is.
literally
Is it Let
called.
There Be
Yeah.
There will be carnage.
No, Let There Be
Is Let
Carnage.
There Be
No, I like mashing it up like there will
There
be
will be
blood. Like, there will be carnage.
There will be carnage.
I stir your milkshake for Eddie.
With like Venom getting transported to the MCU, and then the weird post-credit scene in Morbius, and it seems like and Marvel had no idea they were doing these things or wasn't sure what it was going to look like. If they want to do their own multiverse story, I say let them. Just do whatever you
But
want,
it's
guys.
only other Venoms.
It's only Venom, and it's only 2 Venoms getting together.
Yeah.
Hanging out, being
maybe,
cool guys.
maybe yeah, you could do an animated Venom. Maybe they Big Burrow and steal from Lord
They could.
Miller.
They could bring in their Venom from the Spider-Man 2 video game that they're going to have. It's gonna have Venom.
Yeah, I love this idea that Sony's playing 3D chess with deleting social posts, just because like deleting it will generate more news than leaving it up. That's very interesting.
There was like a weird social post that happened before No Way Home, and I think it was like Sony Brazil or somewhere in like South America where they had done like a edit like that featured like all 3 Spider people together, or like not together but edited in the same video. And this was prior to like the set leaks. This was when there was still a lot of conversation of like, oh, they might be coming back. I don't know. Da, da, da. They put it out and then they like took it down, and we had this like same conversation then. So you could be right that they were just kind of teasing to see like what would happen. Is there like a news story here? And there is.
Well, and also all these studios are under a lot of pressure to be putting out anything. There's nothing else to put on your social
nothing
media
to-
accounts. There's no content coming out. There's no sets they can visit. There's no, right? So maybe there's a little bit of that. The Spider-Verse content, right? Craven was the next movie. That is delayed. Madam Web is delayed, right? Those are going to be deep into 2024 before you see those. This Venom 3 is not even begun filming yet. So like that's probably a 2025 thing at this point, if they're lucky.
Yeah. Bad Bunny's out as El Muerto.
Muerto.
Dead.
Warn you till we join you. Who knows? Maybe could end up as an Amazon original series. Maybe they've got those projects going on over there. They've got the Silk Show at Amazon Prime. Maybe some other stuff. So, anyways, we've already given way too much airtime to a TikTok that was also not that well created.
Ooh, shots fired.
Wasn't even a good
Shots
fan at
fired.
it. It did not look like the
Shots
characters
fired.
were talking to each other. And like, why is there just like a really long hold on Topher Grace's face?
Because he's emoting. What an actor.
He's using his eyes and his emotions.
what
That
an
whoever
actor.
the unpaid intern that made that is gonna make a fan edit of you and your moments on this show
Good.
and send it right to you.
Good.
Okay, in other news, Werewolf by Night in color. So last year's Marvel special presentation, Werewolf by Night, came out last October, a little over a year ago. It was of course in black and white. They're going to be re-releasing it in a full color version on Disney Plus this year. I think I have a lot of thoughts on this. One, we're not getting a Marvel special presentation.
Not a new one, no.
This year, right? Like this all but
far as
kind
we
of
know, as far as we
confirms it. Probably live action at least. I don't know if you're. Do we count I Am Groot season
No,
2?
they don't put up the special
special-
presentation bumper. At the
So there's no kind of Marvel scary new product this year. So it's like, well, they can
I don't know.
just
Secret Invasion was pretty scary.
get out of here. But or at least new product to put out in October. We'll have Loki season 2. Maybe that has some scary moments, but so they're gonna re-release this. I don't mind this because like that was great. It's
good.
And
Very
getting
good.
more eyeballs on it. I'll watch it again now that it's in color. I like Michael Giacchino, the director of it, explained in an article that like it's not just like a cheap like, hey, put it back out in color kind of thing. They went through and they colorized it in a way to mimic Hammer horror films from the 60s and 70s, like the Christopher Lee Dracula movies that maybe you saw on like late night TV when you were a kid. They're like European, very like saturated colors, like, you know, the blood and stuff like that. It's a lot of Victorian outfits. I'm interested to see how they do that because that kind of fits with the aesthetic of it. But what are your thoughts on re-releasing it in color?
I mean, yeah, it's a fun gimmick. I want it at the end to be in black and white. When in the original thing, when it switched, I hope it switches the other way. That's my one thing. I did like the reveal at the end; it was very fun. But I don't need it, but I'm intrigued, and I will definitely watch it just to see, like, oh, what does this look like? Yeah, it'll be cool.
Do
to see
they
color,
maybe? I don't think they've said this. Do we get a little bit of director's cut? Maybe they just throw in a couple little extra shots.
New shots. I would hope so.
If they have
That'd
that'd be fun to include.
Yeah.
I'm definitely excited. I mean, because in the original, there were certain red things that came through as red.
Yeah.
So, the bloodstone.
Yeah.
Is that what they call it? A bloodstone?
Well, she was a bloodstone. I don't know if that was also a bloodstone.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that'd be cool to see how those red things from the original fully get immersed in a full color version. And I want to see how they Wizard of Oz this thing.
Yeah.
How they switched from the black and white to the color and vice versa. And yeah, there was some gory, bloody, werewolfy mess, Marvel. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if you have to change the rating at all. If you're showing blood
in color.
I don't know.
I mean,
Well,
it was
Do they put the
PG-13?
ratings up on stream? Yeah.
TV-14?
It was
Yeah,
TV. Yeah.
Most of the Marvel stuff is TV-14. I
Yeah.
believe that one still got in under the TVMA
Yeah.
rating. I like this too because like this is what a streaming service can do best. Give you a bunch of different versions of the same content that you can watch at your will because they're going to leave the black and white one up on Disney Plus. You can keep watching that to your heart's desire. In addition to that, you can watch the color. Or if you're one of these
Brandon.
Brandon, you weirdo.
I want the Werewolf by Night red zone where like you're seeing all the people going through the maze, and as one's about to get killed, it zooms in on
Yeah,
them.
I want that Peyton and Eli Werewolf by Night. But like that's perfect. They have unlimited server capacity or whatever. They could put every version of all these movies up if they want. It's great for Disney because they don't got to pay a lot of money for a new thing, right?
I love the unlimited server capacity.
Guys, I've seen those server farms.
Music to Amazon's ears.
We've got
right
acres of terabytes ready.
But it's fun, you know, a Director Z, a re-edit, or whatever, because there must be some section of the population. Put in the chat, are you a weirdo who hates black and white stuff? No matter what it is, old movie, new movie, you won't go for black and white. You refuse to watch The Artist Best Picture winner.
God.
You'll never go for Schindler's List.
Or Citizen Kane.
Or Citizen
You
Kane.
hate sleds because of Citizen Kane.
The Philadelphia Story. His Girl Friday. Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
The end of Oppenheimer.
Throw in the chat. Are you looking forward to? What's your likelihood of popping on a full color Werewolf by Night this October?
We were all really stoked last year too because they popped out 2 special presentations, kind of as a surprise, kind of like last minute.
Barely announced them, no trailers
And
really.
then we were all like, "Oh, this is going to be a thing they do every year." And then it appears that they had no plans to ever do one.
Turns out those were very special.
Yeah.
There's been rumors that there's maybe one that's like connected to Agatha Darkhold Diaries.
Yeah.
But that's very rumory.
Well-
and now the rumor is that like that's coming out at the same time. And I don't know why they do that.
Let's pivot here because I think this is applicable here. We also got some news on another potential Disney Plus series that is now a movie, and that's the Lando Calrissian project with Donald Glover. So his brother Stephen Glover, who is his partner, co-producer, co-writer on the Atlanta series, is also co-producing, co-writing this Lando project. We thought it was going to be a series on Disney Plus, but he said on this Pablo Torre podcast that it's, as of now, it's going to be a movie. That's what they are working towards, and it's still just in the scripting phase. This obviously hasn't gone into production or anything like that.
And Lucasfilm confirmed it not so
Yes,
long after.
that's right. Yeah, and so like, how do we feel about that? Pivoting to a film, something Lucasfilm has not been making much of when it comes to Star Wars output lately.
Yeah, I mean at D23, not this most recent one, but last year, they seemed like they were. I think that's when they announced that they were leading up to like a Mando movie. And this last year. I say Mando movie, but it's like a Filoni movie, Filoni-verse movie. And in this last year, they've kind of been like, oh, we're kind of looking to get back into cinemas again. We want to do another like post-sequels movie that involves Rey at some point. I still think this Lando thing will not happen.
Really?
I don't know. I think this feels like Rogue Squadron all over again, where it's like a story where they're like, "Oh yeah, we're doing it. This is gonna happen." Donald Glover's been involved for a long time since Solo, right? This show was gonna happen, or this series or whatever. They keep punting it. I feel like they're maybe getting tired of going into these characters. I don't know. They might be feeling the excitement of like new characters and branching out. Like Mandalorian was very successful. Ahsoka appears to be somewhat successful. Now Kenobi, last year's one of last year's series, was one of their most popular ones. It did very well. I don't know if it was like well received by big fans or like the hardcore fans. I think the casual fans liked it, but I don't know. I feel like this is not going to happen. But that's just like the feeling I get.
All I was saying,
keep shuffling it around in weird ways.
Donald Glover is the king of being attached to a lot of projects at any given time. A lot of which do not happen, like the Mr. and Mrs. Smith series on Amazon with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Hasn't
Didn't like
happened.
an image come out from it recently?
It's on pause.
Yeah.
Okay.
They switched the actress.
I mean, he's got this. Speaking of Sony, he's got I keep wanting to call it Disco Inferno, but it's not. Hypno Hustler. Hypno Hustler, like this weird kind of like
which a lot of people
character.
think that was a code name.
Oh,
like potentially like a Prowler project, but they were calling it. They were using another character's name.
That's
purposely
messed up.
to like, because they didn't want to say like, oh, he's working on a Prowler movie ahead of Across the Spider-Verse, where he shows up as the Prowler.
Okay, interesting. And I mean, in addition to, well, Atlanta's over, right?
Yes.
But he has been working on that. He's a musician. I mean, the guy's got 1,000 irons in the fire at any given time. So who knows? And part of being a multi-hyphenate like himself, he needs to have all those irons in the fire because you never know when a strike's going to happen or a window will open or whatever. I don't know that I think it's not going to happen. I actually think like when you hear about all the potential Star Wars projects coming up, this feels like bankable, like it's building, they'll probably do both. They'll probably have some new characters in its own project, but they probably want to get back to a movie a year. You know what I mean? So like you can have a one-off with just Lando in it.
I don't know. So I think Solo suffered from the same thing that the original Rocky IV suffered from.
Oh, okay.
Both of them had a upsetting sex robot.
Oh, okay.
That fans were like, this is a choice. We don't like this choice, but everything else works. So I think Donald Glover's Lando in Solo was a popular, well-received part of the Solo movie.
Yes, sure.
And that there is a chance that a Solo movie a Lando movie could happen. So I think it could happen. I don't think it'll be an Inhumans Marvel movie situation.
Lando trying to like sex up his robot is the most honest thing Star Wars has ever done. Because there would be so much of that going on.
Yes.
Oh yeah, droids, sex droids. Oh, they've been at them.
Some of those sassy English accents some of them throw out there. Come on.
I mean, that's not for me because I hate the British accent myself. But other people.
Yeah. I'm an American.
Yeah.
We beat those Brits.
Damn it, Jack. I'm not gonna yuck anyone's British yum.
That's interesting. Yeah, I also, that just inspired me. I want to see like the top 10 list of sex robot movies that were utter failures. Because AI kind of bombed, and that like Jude Law played Gigolo Joe.
Who's Gigolo Joe? What do you know?
Even like the
iRobot, was that a sex robot? Alan Tudyk is a robot.
Ex Machina.
Ex Machina.
I don't know if it bombed,
well, that
but
movie.
That did not bomb.
Yeah, they're good.
Okay, so the theories.
Name some other sex robot. Runaways.
Jean-Claude Van Damme's. What was the one where Android? I think it was just called Android.
What's it called? Android?
Oh, that sounds right. Cyborg.
That's what it was.
Cyborg. Yeah, Runaways with Tom Selleck. They weren't trying to fuck those robots, but I think
that was the problem.
The two humans were trying to
It would have been a better movie.
Well, and coming back to like
Bicentennial
I think
Man. He's trying to get some.
Just because you masturbated to a movie doesn't mean it was a sex robot.
I can't help it.
Oh, that's the rules.
I find a good performance.
What a caveat.
RoboCop.
Yeah, RoboCop 2.
Yeah, RoboCop 2.
Absolutely zero sex in either of those movies.
No,
the rapist gets his dick shot.
That's right.
But doesn't he at one point like go back to his wife's house and he's like sees her like with another man or something like that?
No, it's like a video screen, isn't
it's
it?
a
Because it's been
video
turned into like a
screen.
model home because it's
a video screen.
Anyways, we've gotten so far off track, guys. It's meant we came back to the track.
Yeah, we were supposed to get 10 subs before we talked about this.
That's a little tease of our Twitch only content. So, I think the real news hook here is not whether this project is going to happen. It's that it got converted. It was in talks to be a series. Now it's getting converted to a film.
Right.
There's been a lot of talk in kind of like once the bubble burst on streaming, right? All these streaming services can't make enough money. They're spending way too much on content for how much they're making in subscriptions. There was like, especially for the high budget stuff like Star Wars and Marvel content, hey, do we need to be making as much of this? Could some of this pivot to be like $1 billion box office movie instead, right? And we have yet to see anything officially change, though there's been rumors about certain Marvel projects. I guess the first thing or the only Marvel project that this is applied to is the Armor Wars Don Cheadle Rhodey project that was going to be a series and now is in development as a film. Could you see this happening to other Marvel or Star Wars projects in the future?
Yeah, I mean, to go back to special presentations, that's something we had said, like, a lot of these things, these shows or series, maybe they're not a full movie, but like, a fun special presentation that explores like this one character for an hour and change or something like that. I could see them leaning that way. You're right about like the price tags. Like, wasn't the price tag for like Secret Invasion reportedly like 20 million an episode or something insane like that?
Oh, no, I bet it was, maybe even more than that.
Yeah, like very pricey. Now, I will say
200 million for the series.
For
Was
8
6
episodes?
episodes?
Yeah,
Six.
I don't remember. But
So it's over 30 million an episode.
yeah, so very expensive. Game of Thrones back in the day was like very expensive. That show looked great for the most part though. And I think Ahsoka has looked really good.
Oh, yeah.
I think there were parts of like Kenobi, not to just keep bashing on that show, but like there are parts of it that didn't look great. And you're like, what is this budget going towards, right? But like Ahsoka looks great. Andor looks great. Apologies to Andor. That show like looks great for whatever it's costing. Now that's a show where they were like, we're going to build this giant set and use it multiple times in both seasons. Because I think they're going to go back to it every now and then. But I could see them doing more of these movies. I don't know. But movies are like a big commitment. Because if it doesn't make $1 billion, you stand to lose a lot, right?
And maybe, right, then you get, you could still put it on streaming.
Sure,
you could still
but-
make as much of the streaming as you would, but you get box office, you get like international box office, right? Like home video. There's other revenue streams if you release things theatrically.
But you're assuming people are new to your streaming service for that movie. Because if they already have your streaming service, you're not making any new money off of it.
Well, but do you think you're making any new money off of Secret Invasion or whatever? Are people signing up for a streaming service for that? I'll also say this, right? There's been this undercurrent in Hollywood that new IP doesn't become popular streaming only. Does anybody, like beyond Stranger Things, can anybody think of a Netflix property that does it's not Wednesday, it's not based on an old TV show or something like that has truly become a mega hit pop culture crossover thing?
Extraction.
That's the perfect example, right?
Gray
And
Man.
that, like,
Well, the Gray Man's based on a book, so I guess that doesn't count.
yeah, but even those things are like
Sure.
blips compared to like Barbie, compared to anything from Marvel and Star
Listen,
Wars, right?
We all re-upped our Netflix accounts to watch Roma, okay? We had to see it.
Hey guys,
Talking about black and white.
Hey,
Had to see it.
If you're still on Roma, I got one word for you. Bardo. Okay.
Ooh,
I'm talking indulgence.
The high couture.
Yeah, indulgent Spanish director passion projects. Okay. Yeah, Evan's got something.
Do you want to see what the chat is saying for that question of?
Even more than I want to see it, Evan, I want to hear it.
Oh, okay. Umbrella Academy.
Okay,
Umbrella
yeah.
Academy.
That kind of took off.
Okay.
Bridgerton.
Yeah,
Yes.
that
brought some people back. Yeah,
Witcher.
Yeah, Witcher popped off, yeah.
I mean, but Witcher's
Again, Witcher's
already a
based
video
on
game.
popular
Already
IP,
a book.
Evan, follow the rules.
I'm only half paying attention. Okay. And then the last two here: Glass Onion and Squid Game.
Yeah.
Well, Glass Onion was based on a movie that was released. The first
Theatrical
Knives
release.
Out was theatrical release.
And that was a surprise.
Squid
right?
Game, yes. I guess Squid Game and Stranger Things are probably the two best examples, right? Of like true pop culture phenomenons that like your mom knows about, all your cousins know about, right? And it started and only lives on streaming. Yeah.
Thanks, chat. That was great.
Good work,
Yeah.
chat. What's that?
Selling
Selling
Sunset.
Sunset. No, that was a broadcast series.
My
wasn't
God.
it?
I will. My wife loves Selling Sunset, and I will watch it.
Okay.
I just want one of those women or men to read a fucking email. Like, how are they doing their jobs? They're never reading emails.
We are not pivoting to Selling Sunset.
Personal
content.
gripes.
Also, the transition songs they use in between scenes are hilarious. They're like if AI wrote songs.
Okay.
Which
Probably
one of those is about to be up for Grammy.
Even like the fact that Suits has been on the Netflix top 10 for like a month straight just shows you that like
That's a
streaming
lot.
services are very good at consuming our time and our eyeballs, but like they're not necessarily good at like introducing us to brand new content.
I'm convinced that the Suits thing is a psyops campaign. It's just like Gamergate all over again. It's
Is it Markle's people or what?
Yeah. It's like Cambridge Analytica telling us that we love Suits and we don't like Suits, and it's everyone. My in-laws are like, we're watching Suits now, and we're like, we didn't ask you to. Don't watch it.
No, it's the Aura Borealis. It's the snake eating its tail. If they tell you something's in the top 10, you watch it. Now it's in the top 10.
We're getting formal pilled.
Evan.
I literally hate to interrupt, but I feel the same exact way as Brandon does
Thank you.
about Manifest.
Manifest.
Manifest was also a cable show.
It was an NBC show. I think.
Yeah. And then it didn't get another season, and then Netflix brought it on the platform. It like cracked the top 10, and they're like, "We'll give you the last."
No, it's Netflix spending too much money on these shows. They're like, no one's watching it. We spent all this money, and they're like, they go down to the intern who's running the what's trending, and they're like, listen, you got to put Suits at number one, and they're like, I can't betray my oath to give the real numbers.
No. There's never been any clarity. That's part of what the strike's about. There's no clarity about what performs well on Netflix. Also, like Netflix was built on The Office. Seinfeld, Friday Night Lights, Breaking Bad, right? Like it was built on
House of Cards. It is a House of Cards.
Well, House of Cards and Orange is the
original.
New Black, but like the thousands of more hours of those shows were watched than even their originals, right? So, anyways, moving on. Okay, Creature Commandos. Let's talk a little DC.
All right.
How dare you?
So when James Gunn made his big announcement, right, unveiled his awesome 20-year plan of DC content releases, right? The first project that was going to be released was this animated series, Creature Commandos, based on the comics. And we kind of got news this week that the project is not delayed. It is definitely going to be coming out next year. It will still be the first DC project under James Gunn's regime that will be released.
The first official one, that he like created. It's an animated show, so it can continue production for the most part during the show.
Those are different guilds. It's not on strike. And so we got some Frank Grillo, Crossbones himself, threw up a little post. No delay for Creature Commandos. All ready to go as per James Gunn. I'm so pumped for people to see this. And he will be playing Rick Flag, played by Joel Kinnaman.
Well, he's playing Rick Flag Sr.
Oh, apologies. Okay, because
Father of Joel Kinnaman.
I'm not familiar with the
Mr. Flag is my father. You can call me Dick.
So he's the in live action. He would be the father of Joel Kinnaman's. Got it. I just said that, and then other characters in the series. I think. Do we have images of? And reminder, this was an image that James Gunn shared when he did his presentation. We know some of the casting since James Gunn shared this. Nina Mazursky is a character voiced by Zoe Chow, an amphibious scientist. That'd be the second from the left right there. Dr. Phosphorus, voiced by Alan Tudyk, which that guy, if you've got an animated project and you don't have Tudyk on board, I mean, hit the bricks, baby.
Him or Clancy Brown, you gotta have one of them.
That's right. No mainline MCU credits, but has been in lots of DC, including Doom Patrol and Harley Quinn for Alan Tudyk. Frankenstein, voiced by Red Guardian himself, David Harbour. Speaking of Stranger Things, and Brandon pointed out, it's Frankenstein, not Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, he should be called Frankenstein's monster.
Shit. If you want to be technical.
I do want to be technical.
Well, there you go.
Well, then let's continue that thread. Bride of Frankenstein, voiced by Indira Varma. Shouldn't that be Bride of Frankenstein's monster?
Correct.
Because she's not married to the doctor. She's married to the monster, right?
Right.
And then G.I. Robot and Weasel, both voiced by Sean Gunn, pulling double duty. I guess when you only got to make squirts and clicks or whatever for Weasel, you can afford to have your full voice used on G.I. Robot. Brandon, what would be your best Weasel audition tape?
I'm the Weasel! The Leaning Tower of Jesus!
Hired.
Thank you.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Thank you. That's for my geriatric millennials out there.
Rest in peace, Paulie. We were talking about this. This will be, again, the first project we see from DC under James Gunn.
The Gunniverse.
Though, it's interesting. It'll be an animated project. We've had What If from Marvel.
Correct.
Being a MCU official Marvel property. Man, in the last 10 years, has been so much animated DC content.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, prominently right now, Harley Quinn is coming out on Max. There's been all Young Justice.
They just did like the My Adventures with Superman.
yeah.
Of
Yes.
Superman or with Superman?
With Superman.
With Superman.
Yes. And I mean, tons of like animated movies,
Sure,
Batman,
sure.
Apocalypse, all kinds of stuff, right? So like, my question is, will this feel special? Right? What will DC do to make this feel different from all the other DC animated stuff and make it feel like it is a part of James Gunn's DCEU?
I think if it is like not adult, but like a geared towards an older audience, which the Harley Quinn show is, but that's like a straight dark comedy, right? Yeah. If this is like, adult stories and action and all that stuff, like it could feel that way. It's a very interesting gambit to go with the animated project first, because often they take longer to put together between like the voice and the animation and all that stuff.
We've seen that with Invincible season 2.
Yeah, because like you might think
like,
it's much harder to make like a full movie, but it's like it can be very hard to do the animated stuff because it just takes so much time. But it is an interesting gambit because it's like, if you want to put emphasis on the animated stuff you're doing, leading with that and being like, any of these animated characters, they could cross over to live action, like that's cool. I think it puts a little more strength on it rather than like leading with a movie and then the next thing is an animated thing. Then people are going to be like, I don't care about the animated thing. I think it's the struggle Marvel's had with like What If.
Which is popular,
which people like it, but they still haven't done a successful like crossover.
Sure.
They kind of did with Captain Carter, but it wasn't the same Captain Carter. Like they've said, right, that anyone from What If can come over.
I think that's a great point. This will get more looky-loos.
Right.
People that are just interested in James Gunn's vision that will check the show out that would not normally watch animated superhero content, right?
And this is a series, so it doesn't have to be in theaters.
Right.
You don't have to judge it on its like box office merit.
This will be on Max in theory.
Right, right.
I like those ideas. It will be really interesting. James Gunn has kind of hinted now, DC's really been hammered their last half dozen films, and maybe Aquaman 2 coming out.
Are you suggesting that they've been drunk at the helm while putting these movies together?
Yeah, and people pointed out like how much of that is the quality of these films, how much of that is people know these characters are not going to really survive beyond these films. There's no connectivity going forward. It's the end of the road for that, verse. So James Gunn has been purposely hinting at like this will be interconnected. Maybe these characters will show up in live action, or
but also not promising that everything connects.
Right. And he doesn't know yet because those projects are still so early in development. I think it's an interesting tactic. I'm excited for it to see what that's going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, I was pleasantly surprised by Invincible. I'd never read the comic it was based on, and I saw it was coming. I was like, I don't really know. There's a lot of names attached, and I was like, I don't know. And I watched it, and it was great. It's so great, and it's very violent, very adult, and I think anything like that, I'm all for.
Well, in similar to Creature Commandos, Invincible also did that whole thing of like, hey, every actor you've ever heard of is in this show.
We might only have 2 lines, but they're here.
We're keeping Hollywood afloat with our voiceover budget. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. It's also interesting, like, how big a splash this will make. Presumably, now we don't know who might cameo on the show, but no Batman, no Superman, no Wonder Woman, right?
Sure.
None of the big DC characters are going to be, these are all pretty obscure. Even if you're a comic book fan, these are pretty obsure characters.
Like Weasel is probably the most well known because he was
We've seen
in,
him in
Suicide Squad.
Right.
So it's like,
they might be banking on James Gunn sprinkling some of his Guardians of the Galaxy magic on this TV show.
Yeah, right. That was the same problem with the Guardians. No one really knew outside of like bigger comic book fans. Were very familiar with the Guardians characters.
I sure didn't. I don't know if I would have, bet the farm on a talking tree that says its name like a Pokemon.
And in a lot of ways, in hindsight, right, that was a benefit to that movie in that there weren't expectations. People aren't like, this is what Batman needs to be. Don't change that. That's not my Batman or whatever, right? Like, most people didn't have those expectations for a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, so they were able to just like, well, I guess this is what the Guardians are, and I love it, right? So maybe we'll get the same thing for Creature Commandos. Real quick, we want to shout out our friends at NerdRiot.shop. I am wearing one of our special Nerd Riot sports shirts. I'm wearing the football tee, which is like got these nice wide sleeves and the cool stripes, and it's the Kashyyyk Warriors. This is. You cannot. Oh, and Brandon's holding up one of our Ahsoka-inspired shirts.
That's fire. I won't wear
I think is this one called the Fulcrum? Something like that.
I don't know the name of it.
NerdRiot.shop, but it's got, and what do you got behind there?
Oh, what do we got behind there? Boom, bam,
Ooh, Ahsoka and Vader back to back.
Wow.
with the drippy lightsabers.
Ooh, with
Who
the
knew?
drip.
This shirt holds much more meaning after episode 5.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, because
That's
they
right.
had
Very prescient.
they had sexy lightsaber sex in that episode. That's what that's about.
Whoa.
Is that what it was about? I thought it was about the world between worlds. It was about sex.
Everything's about sex, Brandon. Everything.
And then, yeah, there's another one of our sports shirts, the Tython lightsabers.
This guy let a 10-year-old be a commander in the Clone Wars. She was 10.
Buy these shirts and all kinds of other shirts to have sex or not have sex in
Okay.
at nerdriot.shop.
It's a family show. Tommy's
That's why you don't
mother's
have to
watching.
have sex in them. I'm saying these shirts are
How do you
great
think
for
these families got started?
Good point. Let's get to the topic that is probably the title and thumbnail of this video.
Are you calling it like Babe Ruth?
As I was informed before we started, we got some interesting little teaser for Loki season 2, and as part of that, we got some very important information when these episodes are going to be released, or at least when we know the first episode will be released, and we hope all the subsequent episodes will be the same. Loki season 2 will be coming out Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. That is big news. That is, of course, mirroring the Tuesday night 6 p.m. that Ahsoka is releasing at, but is different from all the midnight Pacifics that usually Marvel shows have been released at. And now, this obviously affects us a lot as content creators because we stay up late to watch these shows to make content about it to release the next day. So 6 p.m. is way better for us. But it's also nice, I think, for fans because you can watch a show at a normal hour when you normally watch TV. You can be tweeting about it. You can watch it with your friends. You can talk about it and know that, like, hey, we're all seeing it at the same time. As opposed to, like, this one stayed up late, that one watched it in the morning, that one didn't see it till the next night when they got home from work or school or whatever, right? Like, it's nice that we get to have the communal experience.
Yeah, they brought it back to primetime.
Yes!
Yeah.
Must-see TV.
This is like when ER did a live episode. They had to do it twice. Once for the East Coast
right.
and once for the West Coast.
30 Rock did the same thing when they did a live episode. And in that show, Undateable, I think also pulled the same trick.
Yes.
Every couple years, a network show will get a bee in their bonnet and think, let's do a live show.
Or for sweeps.
Or for sweeps. That's the better answer.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I mean, in the streaming age, no one knows what sweeps is anymore. So
That's right.
I don't know if
No
that's a
such
thing
thing.
anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty much gone.
But we got this information as part of a little teaser that had some kind of interviews with the cast talking about the season and not giving out big plot details, but there were some fun quotes and some interesting shots that I don't think we've seen anywhere else. And I just love like them talking to Tom Hiddleston in costume, wig, makeup, but standing in front of trailers on the back lot somewhere. I just love that. They're like, hey, I know you're on your way to go take a piss, Tom, but can we get you to throw us a couple quotes for the promo video?
He did great. He seemed very unbothered.
And
He's a
great.
fantastic
They're all
actor.
great. Executive producer Kevin R. Wright on the show had a couple things to say. He said, rest assured, our Loki will be with our Mobius. And I have to assume that's a reference to like multiverse, time travel kind of stuff.
Yeah, they put out like something last week, another trailer, or they were talking, or it was a description of the show, I'm sorry. And it kind of like described it as like Loki kind of came back in time to a point in the TVA before Kang had like hidden himself. Rather than like a totally different TVA. So I think they're just kind of establishing that like this is the same Mobius that you know. Yeah. Just maybe a different point in time.
Same Loki.
Same Loki, same Mobius. Yeah.
So it's
not very possessive.
It's not kind of like a brainwashed Mobius
Yeah.
from the end of season 1 who didn't know who he was talking to and whatever. I also like there's a quote later. It's Tom Hiddleston talking about like this is him trying to save his friends and him like kind of like some language about like him being a part of a team, which I like. Like he's going to find his Mobius, his Renslayer, right? Like the people he knows. I got some vibe from the quotes in this promo that it is going to be like Loki as a TVA agent. Season 1 was definitely him kind of
trying to
running
destroy
from the
TVA,
TVA, destroy it, kind of butting heads. But I like the idea now of like, no, like he's joining forces with these people, right? It has a very different energy than the first season. That was cool. And the producer went on to say this is about Loki finding what heroism looks like, and that he's found a new family, kind of referencing the Mobius and Renslayer and all these other
Look at the
folks.
growth. We love to see it.
Do you like a Loki fully good? A fully good Loki?
Nah, he's got to be at least a little mischievous.
Right?
Yeah.
We see him doing, I mean, we've seen him do a lot of magic in the trailers, right? He's doing like the multiple Loki thing. There's some green blasts going
You know,
on.
he's
shadow horns.
virgin with glorious purpose. Is that going to seep through? Is he going to try and take over the TVA, like run it? Like he sees the power of the TVA. Maybe he's like, this is where I can rule. I kind of, the MCU gets dragged. A lot of comic book movies gets dragged for their villain problems, right? And Loki is, probably one of the better villains that they've put together. Sure, they've had plenty of movies to do it, but even how quickly they had to get us up to speed in Avengers. I mean, they had a Thor movie, but like how quickly they had to get us up to speed on this character. They did a great job. It pains me to see one of their best villains be turned fully good forever, And I kind of want him to go back to being bad. I want a good villain.
Too late.
I want a good villain. Like Thanos was a great villain. They spread him over 2 movies mostly, and then had to kill him off.
No.
It's like I want a good villain to stick around.
You can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. I also think it's like a wrestling problem. Like you have a great heel wrestler. Eventually he gets so popular because he's so good at his job. He has to become a face. The Rock was a bad guy until he got so popular as a bad guy, they had to make him a good guy, right?
Sure.
Yeah. I feel like that's what we have with Loki. And like, I think like we've just spent so much time with Tom Hiddleston as this character.
Yeah, it's hard not to like.
We can't hate that guy. We can't root against him. We're just inherently rooting for him no matter what situation he's in.
Now, I'll accept that this was a variant that was taken out of his normal path, and maybe that explains his heroism a little bit. But if you're going to make him fully good forever, fine. You can do it. Let us have Wanda back. Let her
well, you got
I
her
want
back.
Wanda. Nah, not really. She's got her reasons for being evil. I just want, like, pure evil.
Doesn't everybody have their
While
reasons
we're at
for
it,
it?
let's get Cruella 2 out and have her kill some fucking dogs. You know what I mean?
Speaking of has the reasons for being evil, we know we're gonna have Kang in this series.
Listen, you grab his phone. You grab his phone.
If you blinked, you missed him.
That's right. That's right. They're really pulling an Amber Heard in the Aquaman 2 trailer.
Yeah, who's getting less trailer time? Amber Heard or Jonathan
Ooh,
Majors?
take your stopwatches out, guys.
That's right.
It was definitely far away in a shot. I mean, they've embraced him in the trailers certainly. This was like a little featurette thing. I mean, I don't think there will be any there was no cast interview with him. Like we heard Sophie DiMartino talking, we heard Tom Hiddleston talking. We did not hear.
Yeah, and this also might be a situation where it's not too bad that there's a actor strike going on and the actors can't do any promo for this. You won't notice that Jonathan Majors isn't doing any promo. The rumor is that he's in a few episodes. He's not in every episode of this series.
The six episodes. Yeah, maybe in 3. I don't know of any reshoots that took place before the show, before the strike, other than the standard stuff. It'll be interesting to see where Kang is at by the end of this. If they're gonna pivot at all, this is when they're gonna have to do it.
He might be in the streets of the past, in between the carnival, breaking up fights between teenagers. Just being a good Victor Timely.
He touched my wooden hoop. That's my wooden hoop.
What if in the final episode of Loki season 2, just somebody's off screen, Kang died. Kang slipped on a banana peel and fell down the stairs. We gotta move on.
He ascended to TVA heaven.
I think we'll see Kang, and then off screen we'll hear Blade being like, "You're dead, motherfucker." Blade will never show his face in the MCU.
No, only off-screen voiceover promos in post-credit scenes. Now, there's a rumor that there will be a screening for this show, like the Ahsoka fan event. And there's an interesting choice made by Lucasfilm and Disney, right? They screened Ahsoka Episode 5
Yes.
was the one that they put in theaters. Not the premiere, not the finale, right? They picked a middle episode and they did kind of a fan event where they put it in theaters for fans. There's a rumor they're going to do a similar thing for Loki. What would you need to get you to a theater to watch 45 minutes of Loki? Now, for me personally, nothing. Just, let it happen. I would prefer it to be a premiere, the first episode, probably, or a finale.
Yeah.
A middle episode feels strange for me because I know I'm going to leave like open-ended, like
how people who didn't know what the end of Across the Spider-Verse was going to be felt disappointed, and they're like, what?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. They did a press screening for Ahsoka in a movie theater where they showed like the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka.
Some folks
that works pretty well, though it did feel like by the end of the second one you were like, oh, okay, no. That was not fulfilling. But that great cold open they have in that show looked great on a big screen. All the like spaceships and stuff.
And I like this idea in general of like they're making these really high quality streaming series. Why not? Like otherwise, when would you as a consumer ever get an opportunity to see it on a big screen, right? I mean, going back to Werewolf by Night, how cool would that have been to see in a theater? You know, go for like a double feature. Give me like an episode of Loki and the Werewolf by Night full color.
Oh,
that's
cool.
a fun.
That's a good Halloween night.
Yeah.
And I think with Ahsoka episode 5, the Purgle part would have probably looked really good on
all the Clone Wars battle
and all that music. The battle sequence, all that music like blasting through big theater speakers. I think it would be great, and I support Disney to do more of this stuff. Especially, we might be in the near future where theaters are hurting for.
Sure. I mean, this is probably a reason why they're doing this too. Like, there's less stuff coming out in theaters right now. I mean, there was a report today that ABC is going to like simulcast all their Monday Night Football games
in theaters.
Not in theaters, but like rather than doing like by market or whatever they normally do, they're going to like put them out everywhere because they have nothing else to air. Basically, like that's it.
I mean, they're airing Yellowstone like it's a brand new series on CBS, so we gonna see.
Yeah, they're putting a lot of, they're putting series on that are normally on Hulu, like on ABC now.
I mean, they played Secret Invasion on ABC, right?
That's Marvel
throw
too.
in the chat. How deep are you into the Taylor Sheridan verse? Are you a Tulsa King? Are you a lioness?
Are you the mayor of Kingstown?
Yeah. How deep are you? Was it 1926? What are all the number shows too?
You
right?
going down to the 4 6s? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
God damn it, Beth! God damn it, Beth!
Also, whose side are you on? Taylor Sheridan or Kevin Costner and their little beef that's going on? Ooh. Guys, if you didn't think we were going to we're going to talk about sex robots, we're going to talk about Yellowstone.
Whose side are you on with Kevin Costner and his recently ex-wife? Which side are you on that one?
Oh, is there a messy divorce?
There's an interesting divorce where he agreed to pay an alimony. She took him to court on it, and now he's paying less alimony.
Wow.
Hey.
She lost out a little on that one,
okay,
folks.
He cooked the bunch himself.
Take what you can get.
Don't look the gift horse, I guess. I don't know.
God damn it, Beth.
Evan, where are we in our Twitch sub drive?
We need 5 more.
We need 75 more. Again,
Catching
Twitch only.
05.
If we hit 7.5 subs, I dropped that from 10, guys.
Too low.
Let's go. I'll go 7.25. If we can beat 7.25 subs,
What's a quarter sub?
I sub for 20 minutes.
Each of us will talk about our favorite pop culture nudity moments. Could be comedic.
That's true.
Gender, species, whatever, right?
I'll give you an honorable mention.
Oh, you're gonna tease him. Give it to him.
That gif where Lenny Kravitz is on stage in his pants.
A moment that'll forever live in infamy.
How does that happen to pants? Never in my life have my pants
How many
exploded in that way.
tight leather pants have
No,
you bought?
Patches,
never.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Never. Okay, fair. Okay. Lastly, speaking of Werewolf by Night, one of the things that set that apart was the fact that it was black and white, and now they are changing that. They're going to do it in full color for the re-release. So that got me thinking, what other film, TV series, whatever, that had like a core part of it,
Right.
would it be interesting or awful
Yeah.
to remove that core part and re-release?
I would go watch all of Avatar: The Way of Water again if you take out all the CG and it's just like
Kate Winslet with dots on her face.
dots on her face, hooked up to some weird fucking contraption.
Dude, we heard all
James
these
Cameron
stories.
yelling at her, being like, "You're in the water!"
Yeah, we heard all these stories about how that whole cast could hold their breath for like 4 minutes underwater to do all these like crazy swimming sequences, and like Zoe Saldana's water was always 68 degrees, and Sigourney Weaver's was always 72.
I would watch that whole movie with no special effects.
Just them in the black
It's like
suits.
a weird, with like the fucking dads on it. Well, it's like, have you ever seen the footage of Doctor Strange? What's his name?
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Benedict.
Oh, as Smaug.
As Smaug, doing the like thing, and he like really gets into the face acting of it.
Yeah, he's acting the hell out of it.
Yeah, stop
That's a
putting
good one.
the CG on.
Release
Just show
any-
me.
Even what's his name, Gollum, right? Like Andy Serkis, right? Who's a hell of a CGI mocap actor. I would watch a Lord of the Rings where it's just Andy Serkis as Gollum, like no CGI. That'd be dope. Yeah.
I like that.
The other one I came up with was movies that have non-linear storytelling, right?
Okay.
That go back and forth in time. To reorder them and to release a chronological, like watching a chronological Pulp Fiction plot, right? Where there's no time jumping. Like that is a completely different movie in that case. Probably not as good of a movie because that was a big important part of it. And there's other, trying to think of like does Memento go back and forth in time, or it's just
With memories, I believe.
yeah, and there's other, maybe there's a little bit of that in
Yeah.
Inception, a little bit of jumping back and forth in time. Anytime you reorder things to be chronological, I think it's just a different experience. Maybe not better, but yeah.
For me, it's got to be. I will watch a version with white chicks where Terry Crews doesn't sing 1,000 Miles.
That's the only thing that's different in the movie.
That makes that movie.
So you want to see the thing that makes the movie not in the movie?
It would be such a drastic change. I would still watch that because look, Terry Crews is a black man singing that white ass song to Marlon Wayans, who's visually a white woman who's a black dude. It's
There's a lot
genius.
there. There's a lot
lot going on.
Did that make his career? I mean, he was already
there to
successful
kind of
by
do
that point.
It put him on the map.
That was before Expendables 1?
oh for sure.
Oh yeah.
Way
Oh
before.
yeah.
Yeah, that was like
oh
04.
yeah.
I don't know my Expendables timeline.
Oh yeah.
That's fine. We'll catch you up. We'll do a breakdown.
Thank you.
Boss, get on it. Expendables 1 through 4 when you break downs.
Throw in the comments what like key part of a movie could you remove from that movie, and it's a different but still enjoyable experience. Like some of the things another thing I was throwing out, like pick a movie with a very important, memorable soundtrack and listen to it with no sound effects. Like I just watched a movie last night that had no soundtrack whatsoever. There's no music played throughout the movie, and I just noticed it halfway through because it was like a sports movie, and you usually associate those with big soundtracks, and there was none. I was like, oh, this has a big impact on the movie. What if you took the music out of Star Wars?
Yeah.
Or is there just like a lot more like
Some more grunting. Like,
yeah, and like feet squeaking on shiny floors kind of a stuff? Like yeah.
Oh, you know what would fuck up a movie if you took the soundtrack out? Tarzan. Phil Collins. Phil Collins is the heart of Tarzan.
Good one.
Collins is the
Or even just like animated movies in general have so much sound
Yeah.
and music and stuff like that. That's a
Or like
great
any
one.
musical, you just take out the music. Like they're just singing diegetically, and there's no backing track. You know
Oh
what I mean?
wow, and all acapella.
Oh,
Like La La
acapella
Land, but you just
Broadway.
hear, there's no music.
I mean, it still could be interesting, right? It'd be very different, but
and they're on the highway dancing, and everyone's like, "Get back in your fucking car!
I gotta get to work.
I'm gonna shit my pants!"
Loki episode 1, season 2 drops in 10 minutes.
Gotta watch it with my kids.
All right, okay, I think that's enough. We're gonna stick around and talk to the Twitch folks, but thank you so much for watching on YouTube. I won't insult you like Tommy often does when he appears on this show. I'm a positive.
Listen, trash bags.
Okay, Eric's
You
picking
can
up
be the Twitch people too. All you gotta do is hit that subscribe button.
That's right. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out nerdriot.shop for our merch options. And most importantly, have yourself a great day, everybody.
Latest gators.